Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on some DC news. So yeah, shit, if you want to put it, it's starting to hit the fan at Warner Brothers. Superman is being thrown into the mix because why not try and push in like another scapegoat when things aren't going great and take the fall. So we have to talk about that and then talk about some other proper DC stuff as well. So goodness gracious me, but of course throughout the video, be sure let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions and everything we go over. Always curious to read what you guys are thinking, and of course, got to enjoy the video, drop a like, takes 2 seconds. So just quickly before we get into like the drama that sort of happened, I guess over the past handful of days, they did line up the CinemaCon stuff that's going to be happening on April 1st. Hopefully it's not an April Fool's goddamn joke. So a lot of people think there might be a trailer. It wouldn't surprise me too much if maybe they dropped a trailer like in the days leading up to it. CinemaCon's not really a place where you drop a trailer. It's maybe where you might announce something's happening, but not really drop a trailer. It's a weird place to do it. But then again, Warner Brothers might be like, hey, this is a good time. People are focusing in on it in some way, shape, or form. CinemaCon is growing year by year in regards to people paying attention to it. Like even if you go to like maybe just before COVID happened, no one really cared. It was just used as like a cinema, marketing sort of thing. It was for cinema owners really to see, okay, like what's going to be put up in the theaters and stuff to advertise movies and everything like that. But now it's almost like a lead into Comic-Con. So it'll be interesting. I don't know. It's a wait and see, I guess, but keep your eye out for it, I guess, because we're only, just over 2 weeks away from it. But yeah, the big news is in regards to what's happening at Warner Brothers specifically, but it plays into DC and what they're doing going forward. And then Superman's being chucked in there as like potentially a scapegoat to use as blame if things don't go well. So Peter Safran apparently is not the top dog, I think, in regards to this, but he is being looked at as a potential new chief of Warner Brothers Studios, just like, the actual studios, not specific department, but chief of the studio. Now, this is a long report from Puck News that I will try and just condense down into talking points because it makes it a bit easier because it goes on for a bit and sort of turns into a bit of a diss track at the same time. So Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdi, might I say, who are the current co-chiefs of the studio, have a string of expensive but niche-leaning projects coming up in the near future, or they've come out in the past year. Mickey 17 just came out, which isn't doing very well, but it's just come out, so it could regain its legs, but it doesn't look likely, but I don't know, you benefit of the doubt, I guess. But as most people would know, Warner Brothers is in a decent amount of debt and isn't far off folding like we saw with 20th Century Fox did a few years ago, which of course did lead to Disney buying them out, which now of course has like Deadpool, X-Men, all those characters now within the Marvel thing at Disney, but it's sort of a thing that people look back on now and go, maybe it wasn't the best deal because there's less movies being made within that Fox part of Disney now, because it's like a minor department, the Searchlight Pictures thing. There's less movies coming out through that, so there's less, original things coming. But Peter Safran, who of course is the co-head of DC Studios alongside James Gunn, he is one of the rumored people being looked at to fill the role of DeLuca and Abdi once they're removed from their positions, which is another rumor. Some are saying that process has already begun, but then there's other people saying that that's not the case at all. I mean, when there's smoke, there's fire. So the fact that there's a discussion around it, like a lot of the things that they either did greenlight and give the check to or allowed to keep going once they took over, didn't really perform well. It's not really a good sign for them, is it? So I know we'll have to wait and see. But once again, they could be used as scapegoats to protect someone like David Zaslav as well. Now, Warner Brothers isn't just hoping that the film of Superman by James Gunn does well. It's now relying on it to not only be well received from fans, so it, I guess, sets up expectations and excitement and anticipation for the upcoming DC Universe projects afterwards, which of course James Gunn is responsible for creatively, but it needs the money from Superman. This, of course, putting, added and I guess unnecessary pressure on a film that already has enough pressure due to the other circumstances around it, following on from the DCEU being the first movie in a reboot that, it was a real toss-up whether they actually needed to reboot and recast certain things because, obviously you're going to reboot and recast roles that maybe were necessary or there won't be too many complaints from, but then there's a side where people are like, well, hold on, I like that, and now you're not continuing on with it because you're doing this reboot. So there's already pressure there, and when you chuck in this side of things as well, it just stacks up upon each other. Now, this whole situation is, like, we knew that Superman had the pressure, but it is going to be interesting to see how it does and whether it is seen as a savior or just, once again, another scapegoat for what's happening at Warner Brothers. And also just how it, it leads. Because I think if you look at it, I think you can sort of see the domino process building here. I wonder if Peter Safran is maybe potentially the top choice that they want to go in there, but they're looking to see how Superman does, because that plays into the marketing aspect and whatever they were trying to do with the film. But also Peter Safran, for those that do know, even you can even tie it technically to one DC project in particular. He is a guy that got his real start up and got, a bigger name throughout Hollywood by being a producer attached to films that weren't too expensive to make, but made a decent amount of money in the theaters. Didn't mean they made $1 billion. Of course, Aquaman made $1 billion, for example, but that movie also cost about 200 million, to make. So he's not making those $200 million movies before that. But he would make those horror movies, like with James Wan and everything like that, and they might cost 15 to 20 million to make, but they'll make you maybe upwards of 200 million in the box office. There's a massive return there, and I reckon that's what they're looking at. They want someone who's in that ballpark to create those projects. But it will just be interesting to see, though there's those pros there for Peter Safran, if Superman not doing well takes that away. But I think if it does well, then it wouldn't surprise me if there's something where maybe they don't think Peter Safran needs to be at DC Studios, and maybe his experience and expertise is more suited to that side of Warner Brothers as a whole, and he can still chime in, because at the end of the day, the ladder goes Warner Brothers Pictures and then DC Studios. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's that shifting around if Superman does well. If Superman doesn't do well, I think, as we said before, I think we're looking at a selling of Warner Brothers potentially, which would be massive, bigger than the 20th Century Fox deal. Like, I don't even know, like the rumor is I think that Universal's going to buy it. But once again, like, who knows what's going to happen. But if that happens, it will be pretty crazy. But let's move on to some more, I guess, like positive stuff, or at least not drama alert nation type of stuff. So we got some new looks at the film of Superman. And it's just a couple of like behind the scenes photos and some theories that people are doing with it. So the first thing to look at here is a photo of the engineer in like the baseball thing. We saw a shot of this in the trailer, but it didn't have the engineer in the trailer. It had Superman fighting Ultraman, I guess we're calling him, like the suited up super dude. I think he's Ultraman that they're actually going to call him in the film. A lot of people weren't happy about this because it's like, is she dead in this photo? It's a weird promotional photo, but it's also just a non-spoiler thing, unless she is dead. I don't think she's dead though. I think it's just her lying there. So yeah, I don't know. People complaining about it. I don't think it's that great, but at the end of the day, it's also whatever. Like, I don't really care too much about it. The second one, though, we get another look at Mr. Terrific alongside Lois Lane there. I thought that was a microphone that she was holding, but just a fan to like keep her cool, obviously, because they're in the sun. And yeah, so this is just a behind the scenes. And once again, this is a shot from the trailer where we had like Mr. Terrific with the T-spheres around him. But in the background here, between this lady with the pink cardigan and the dude rocking the Hawaiian shirt here, people are pointing out this guy here. And you can see it's if we zoom in, it's a purple and green suit, and people think this is potentially Lex Luthor's suit. Now, the thing is that it was some big accounts on Twitter, and I understand engagement's a thing and everything like that, but I mean, in the trailer, like these accounts would watch that trailer multiple times. I've only seen that trailer like 3 times maybe, and I know that this is one of those dudes that's flying down and versing Mr. Terrific, isn't it? Like, I know the whole thing is that they look like Lex Luthor's suit, but that's because they would be Lex Luthor's like soldiers, so it makes sense that they would wear something like this. So yeah, it's a whole bunch of nothing, and I highly doubt James Gunn would have posted a spoiler like this, like, because that guy's like pretty clearly in the back there. So, and James Gunn is trying to keep spoilers to a minimum when it comes to this. So yeah, do I think Lex Luthor might get a suit? Maybe, but not. I don't know if he'd do it in this film, and I think they might maybe try and spread it out. And I think there's a lot going on. So yeah, I don't see that being it. I think it's just one of those soldiers that we saw in the trailer that released at the end of last year. And the final thing to talk about is in regards to Lanterns, and this is another casting, a minor casting by the looks of it. It's not going to be like a major casting, but it is a recurring role, and that is of Jon Stewart's mother. Now, this is from Variety. They got the exclusive, and this is what they said. Nicole Ari Parker joins DC's Lanterns series at HBO, obviously exclusive. And just like that star, Nicole Ari Parker has landed a recurring role in the HBO's DC Studios drama series Lanterns as Jon Stewart's mother, Bernadette. The official character description for Bernadette reads, "Formidable and tenacious, Bernadette refuses to give up no matter how insurmountable the odds. At her core, she's a fiercely protective mother who has worked her entire life to ensure that she and her family will not be passed over." Now, the first thing of note here is that they did change the character's name from Shirley in the comics to Bernadette. I don't know if there's really going to be a specific reason for that, if there's anything to really look into that and look too deep into with all this, or it's just a whatever, like, who cares? I mean, I doubt anyone's going, oh my God, I can't believe they changed the name. Who cares? I think it's just interesting to see if this is maybe like a flashback thing, because we also don't know Jon Stewart's age. Was she a young mother? Because she only looks maybe like she's in her 50s, maybe late 40s or something like that. But then you can just age up or age down depending on whatever you want to do there. But I'd assume that there's probably a mixture of, they probably tried to cast someone where she could play both roles, play like 15 years younger in maybe like a flashback scene, but then also play current day and everything like that. It's just going to be interesting to see how much of Jon Stewart's like potential backstories in here, and also how she would play into the modern day story or the present day story, might I say, as well. So that'll be interesting. I think that, like, as we've sort of talked about, I think a lot of people assume like Jon Stewart's going to have a lot of the development throughout it. So it makes sense that you might have a character like his mother there, where there is maybe some flashback stuff there, or stuff where you can sort of plant from his youth into, but still just tell it in the present day. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I know there's issues around the whole colorism aspect as well, but I mean, the casting's done. It is what it is. I mean, I think we all sort of knew when they cast Jon Stewart specifically, like how they would go down certain things, but you know, that's another discussion for another place, I guess. But yeah, I don't know how many like more announcements there's going to be for Lance. Of course, we know they're filming, and I'd assume that maybe they announced this because she was cast maybe in the episode that's coming up to film or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's shaping up pretty nicely, so I'm looking forward to it. You know, nothing's ringing like an alarm bell yet, and hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be awesome, you could drop a like on it, show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions and everything we went over. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.